Hey there everybody, how you doing? My name is Luther. Welcome to Luther Plays Games, and we are playing Return of the Obra Dinn. I intend to do this as a guide. This is actually going to be my third playthrough of this game. I will show you how to 100% it, or at least I'll show you how to get through all but two of the achievements and then tell you how to get through the last two because one of them is really obnoxious. This is a mystery game, so the first episode is going to be a little shorter. We're just going to talk about the basics and some stuff that the game doesn't really make very clear for you. And then I beat the game in 9 hours. I bet we can do a walkthrough in 3 or 4, maybe not even that much. So the first episode will be a little bit on the shorter side, and then after that, we actually start playing. They'll get a little bit longer. But this was a lot of fun, and I enjoy showing off the idea that I'm going to show off how clever I am as we go through and I explain how to play this. So let's get started. Alright, so this is a completely clean playthrough. So the good ship Obra Dinn was lost at sea in 1803. The captain's name is Witterell, 51 men in the crew, and as it'll work out, there's a few other people. And you are playing as an insurance inspector, which is kind of hilarious. The Obra Dinn has returned, dispatched to Falmouth immediately, and prepare a full assessment. So your job is to figure out what happened to the ship.
Company man woke me up. Said you need ferry to the Obra Dinn. Not many eager for that job. Seems a bit late if you ask.
I didn't.
What's in the box?
I don't know. Post it up in a few minutes.
Hey! How?
Carefully.
Alright, so I have a habit of playing indie games with interesting looks a lot on this channel. Although it's been a minute since I've done anything on the channel at all, so this is definitely an indie game with an interesting look. And actually, speaking of the look, that's going to be the first thing that we talk about. I'm playing on the PS5, so if you hit the options button, it brings this up. You can actually scroll through several monochrome monitor styles. I found myself liking the looks of the LCD the most, so we're going to stick with that. Now, the only buttons that you have to worry about are, standard look around and move. The two left triggers both do the same thing. They zoom, and as we'll find out, there's more coming to that. And the X button is an action button. There will also be points where you will walk up to doors and you will see your character extend her right hand, and then you have to use one of the right triggers to actually open the door. The game doesn't really tell you this. I mean, it's in... You've got controls here, but notice how, they've got reading R2 on there, but they never really tell you about the R2 on the game screen, and action and zoom don't really fully describe what's going on. Anyway, if you look around a little bit, we're going to ignore that for a second. This is the top deck of the ship. And if we look over here, we've got ourselves a body. Notice the flies moving around the body. That's always a telltale sign. Sometimes you can't see the body, but you can see the flies. So there's a lot of time, especially early on, when you want to make sure to be looking for flies. But we got a dead guy here. And if we wander back, the guy in the boat will yell at us. Guy in the boat's kind of whiny. I always lose the step to get back down there. Where is it? Right here. Okay. And then we're going to hit X.
Let's do it. Take it yourself or open it here.
There's that right hand thing, although this time we're going to hit X to open. Take the book. And R1 works as well, by the way. So, now the main thing I want you to notice here actually is that the name of the guy who has sent you the book is Henry Evans. And he's telling you, if you look at that paragraph on the right there, use the pocket watch to determine the identity and fate of everyone aboard. Complete each chapter accurately and return the book by guaranteed post to the French Office of Affairs in Morocco. So Henry Evans is telling you to send this book to him in Morocco. That's important, and I kind of missed that detail when I first started playing. We'll get to that a little bit later on. So the journey just kind of shows you, as you play through, it'll show you where the ship actually ends up. This is a full plan of the ship, which this comes in handy, and as you play through, it marks where things happen on the map, so you'll find yourself looking at this pretty often. Also useful to notice that it tells you what things are. So, there's not a sign on the gunner store that says gunner store, and there's not a sign on the carpenter shop that says that. You have to look at the map to notice it. This is a full list of the crew, along with their positions on the ship and their nations of origin. And as it turns out, nation of origin is super important for being able to figure out who these people are. These pictures you will go to over and over again. This helps you identify everybody. And then if I try and page out of the book right now, it'll tell me to read through the whole thing. So we're just going to hold down the right trigger. One other thing that's important is if you haven't read any books about being on ships in the 19th century, might be worth it to read through this so that there's a fair amount of vocabulary in this game. And there's a few places where I'm actually going to tell you, if you Google this, this will happen. So now we can close the book. And we're going to get this. All right, so now we got our toys. Hit X. Again, it's not going to flash up something telling you to hit X. I mean, it's not like it's the toughest thing in the world to figure out, but it's not going to give you any help here. And that's the lack of instruction is kind of one of the weaker parts. I loved this game. I love this game still, but I wish I had me to tell me how to do it first. So now we're going to walk over this body. You pull the watch out automatically when you are in the presence of a corpse. And if you hit X, what it will do is it will take you to the moment that that person died.
Open the door! Kick it in. Ah! Let's me break it down and take more than those shells! You bastards made tight! Exactly what I give you!
Alright, so this is the moment that the person whose body that was died. And this is him right here. If you walk up to somebody and hold down the left trigger, it will show you who they are in that drawing. And then if you hit, actually the triangle button, it will take you to their page, which is not going to be super useful right now because nobody has a page. You can see who everybody is. Although right now we don't have any names for any of these folks. The first time it takes you to one of these, you've got about 30 seconds and then it's going to close on. I should actually time it. But you got about 30 seconds, then it's going to close on its own. You can always come back later, so you don't necessarily have to get every single detail. But I did want you to make sure to know, so we got the dead guy here. We got another guy standing next to him. This dude is running up onto this top deck for some reason. And any second now, this is going to start. There we go. So that was your first look at that scene. Then the book's going to pop back open. And we'll start filling in some information. Okay, so a couple things about this before we go back. First of all, if you come down here, you get a thumbnail of what happened. You just get the image. And then you get all the dialogue that was performed during the scene when you came in. The X's are the person who is dead. Okay, so he's talking to the captain. He's saying, "Lest we break it down." And then, in this case, the captain is obviously the other person talking, although sometimes figuring out who's talking is complicated. And I just hit triangle to back out, and I shouldn't have done that. Let's go back. So I'm going to walk up to this guy. I'm going to hold the button, hold the trigger down, and I'm going to open the book back up. Now, we don't know who he is yet, but we do know that he was shot with a gun by the captain, who is Robert Witterell. We don't know his name yet, but we know how he died. So we're going to put that information in, circle to back out again. And while I'm here, this again shows you the map of where, the death occurred. And this goes back to that big drawing and shows you everybody who was at the scene. And the game has kind of a loose definition of at the scene. It'll tell us this on its own in a second, but the difference between the blurry pictures and the not blurry pictures, if they're blurry, the game thinks that you don't have enough information to identify them yet. And if they are not blurry, the game thinks that you do. Now, it'll turn out that's not quite as accurate as it could be. But, we'll get into that in a minute. So at this point, a lot of the time, this actually works a little bit different than most of the rest of the chapters. You'll have your watch out, and your watch will be sort of shaking, and you're going to try and find the next body in the sequence. In this case, though, we've got a door here, so we're going to walk out the door because we're done looking around. Now, we're back on the ship. Okay, so we've still got this body, but if you notice at this point, something's changed because now this door is open. And especially early on, a lot of the time, identifying or, working with one corpse will cause something to open somewhere on the ship. We've got two bodies in here, and we're going to look at this one first. You can look at the other one first if you want to. Doesn't really matter.
Must be in here somewhere.
Just happens that this is in the right order.
They're at the bottom of the sea. That's a lie.
What's at the bottom of the sea? We don't know yet. All right, so this guy's still out here and dead. This is a little bit later. So now we have this guy. He's dead now. And how is he dead? The captain has opened his throat with a knife. And if we come around back this way, this is the guy who just a second ago was running up the stairs. So typically in these scenes, this again is breaking the rules. The game actually moves backwards in time. This is actually starting from this moment where this guy gets shot and then going forward. But it's the only time in the whole game where time moves forward instead of backward. So we found all those things. We got this closed door right here. The X actually indicates that it's locked, I think. And that's our 30 seconds. All right, now in this case, again, we don't know who this guy is yet, but we do know that he was knifed by Captain Witterell. So go ahead and mark that. Again, if you look down here, it gives you the dialogue. Again, the X's are next to the person who died, the location, and there's only two other people here. This is just him and the captain. Does it actually show? Yeah, it does, actually. So two other people. So this guy, the guy who died in the last scene, obviously isn't around anymore. So, close the book. At this point, if we knew anything else about these guys, we can go give some more information or put some more information in, but we really don't. So we're going to walk back out the door again. Now we're back in real time. Come back over here. Check this guy out. All right, now we heard there is struggle. This is the guy who was knifed. There's the guy who was shot. This, who's taken a nice little club to the head here, is my dude who was coming down back here and was trying to get behind the captain. Captain himself is still alive. Notice this door's open now too, and there's a body in here. So we can go ahead and see who this guy is again. And we don't know his name yet, so we'll just chill. Don't know the guy who's knifed either. There are some scenes where there's a lot to look at, and so you're not even necessarily going to get to everything within the 30 seconds. It doesn't always make you wait around as much. Notice also the captain's been stabbed. So he got stabbed in the side and then turned around and whacked the guy with that stick. Dropped his gun. You want to get used to paying attention, especially if you just watch this first episode and then try and go play through it yourself. Notice everything. It's amazing how much stuff ends up being relevant to figuring out who everybody is. Alright, so we're inside the captain's quarters. And this guy was clubbed. By who? By Robert Witterell. And that's all we know, so we back out. And once again, actually, can we just go straight to her now? Okay, we can't, because he would have pulled the watch out. So we got to walk out the door. And again, this first sequence plays things a little bit differently. You don't walk out the door during every single thing. Okay, now, yeah, because we're in the future because her body has, or the present because her body has rotted away. And we also have this body here. If you want to, you can do her. She's going to be a little bit of a sequence break. You can also actually, if you want to, go back and re-examine anybody who any corpse that you've already found. But we're going to look at this one first. You can probably guess who this is.
Abigail, your brother, my friend. I shot him dead. I'll be with you soon, my love. Please forgive me for everything.
All right, so the captain has shot himself. So, her body is still here. These guys are all still dead in here. Really nothing's changed at this point other than that now we can tell the captain is dead. Although I think... Can I come out here and ID him yet? No, can't do anything with him. Alright, so we'll wait for our 30 seconds. Sat there and bled for a while before he shot himself. Alright, so this guy, we know who this dude is. "60 people on the ship. You will have to make assumptions using partial information. That's not cheating. Some identities may only be revealed through a process of elimination. Also not cheating. Good luck." So this guy, though, we know who he is. It's obviously the captain. What did he do? He committed suicide with a gun. This may or may not be correct. It doesn't verify it just yet. You have to have 3 correct, completely correct, before it validates any of them. So right now, the game treats this as a guess, even though this is about as solid of a guess as you're ever going to have in this game. Now, before we deal with her, I'm going to come out here. I'm going to highlight this guy. because we know who he is now. He said that he shot her brother. So this unknown soul, first we got to find Abigail. Abigail's name is Abigail Hoskett-Witterell from Scotland. And notice that the first mate is William Hoskett from Scotland. So this is Abigail's brother. So now we've got this guy identified as well. And notice, by the way, that the game has marked him as no longer blurry. So the game is admitting that you can figure out who he is. But like this guy, I think, yeah, knifed. We don't know who he is yet. And you can scroll around all these different faces, obviously, and get a little closer look at everybody. This, she's not blurry anymore. We can go ahead and identify her as Abigail right now. Although we don't yet know how Abigail died, but we can pick her out because, again, she's not blurry. There's 3 women here. She's the one that's solid, so that's got to be Abigail. And I think we can't figure out who the other 2 guys are yet. So I think at this point we can walk off. I'm not sure what the 4X's means, because sometimes you just get slashes. So again, William Hoskett was shot with a gun. This guy's still an unknown soul. This guy's still an unknown soul. Witterell shot himself. Triangle to back out of the book. Now, at this point, again, we've got the full run of the ship. Well, we have the full run of the areas of the ship that we've unlocked, at least. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of the next section just so you can see how this usually works, and then we'll call it an episode and we'll pick up from there. So, the only new body that we haven't talked about yet is this one. We already know who this is. This is Abigail. All right. It will always start on the body of the person, and we can see that some form of hell has broken loose. We're in the past from where we were before, so we've moved backwards in time. And I want to do 2 things real quick. First of all, we know that this is Abigail. And then I want to look at this guy, because she was talking to someone named Martin. So we know that this guy has to be, as it turns out, Martin Perrott or Parrott. They don't pull any games where you have like 2 Stevens or 2 Marks or anything like that. So if somebody calls somebody Martin and you can find somebody named Martin, that's the right one. So we know who that guy is because she was talking to him. And now, at this point, we can kind of look around and see who the rest of these folks are, or see where the rest of these folks are. At least there's people all over the place in this part. That guy, her, there's another lady behind her, and we can see that there's, just there's people over here who are fighting the beast. It only gives you access to a little bit of area at a time. We got another body over here, and now this is going to close out on us. So, this will be a little bit more normal how the rest of the game is going to work. And it should go straight to Abigail's page. Well, it'll open the chapter first. All right, and we know her fate. So Abigail Hoskett-Witterell was crushed by rigging. And that is our 3rd correct person. So we have 3 that are done. If you flip back to the crew list, anybody who's typed in is finished. And if you have assigned a death to any of these people, that death will appear on the right here. But you may notice, and actually it says unknown next to Martin. That's interesting. That just stays that way. You can assign a death to any of these people, and it will appear on here in handwriting, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. So, now, when you have the shaky hand, you can still go around and look at people, okay? You can still pull their faces up. You can still, give them identifications if you want to. But what the shaky hand is telling you, and this is, again, something that the game does not bother explaining, is that, we're ready to kind of move on to the next section. Now, I don't think there's a time limit. Oh, no, it's actually going to say X for action after a while. So if you hit that X button, it shows you where the next body is. The next body is going to be lit up, and you walk over to the next body, and they'll pull the watch out, hit X. Then it brings you back here, and this again is not super clear. You can't move right now. You hit X again, you get this shining light, and the shining light will lead you to the body. And the body is not always exactly where it was in the vision that you just saw. So sometimes it goes, and it tends to be twisty and turny too, but so it'll take you to the body. So here's this poor fella. Pull the watch out. And now we get to find out how this guy died. Oh. So there's only half of him on the deck, and looks like he's had a rough time. Alright, so there he is right there. And again, now this is going to be just a few seconds before where you just were. So a lot of the same people are on the deck right now. Okay, you can see this guy's getting the gun tossed to him by this dude, or maybe the other way around. This fella is holding on for dear life here. And is it letting us see anything else? Got one guy who's shooting at the beast. It's that guy there. Actually, I think this is Martin, isn't it? Yeah. So that's Martin, and he's shooting at the beast. And we don't actually see Abigail. So this must be before she ran out. And that's all the time that you get. All right, now this one's interesting. So we know how he died. He was torn apart, and he was torn apart. I'm sorry. You have to choose who by. In this case, he was torn apart by a beast. But he's got tattoos all over his body. And if we look at the list of people, look at their place of origin, what you're going to notice is that we have one person from New Guinea. And New Guinea, especially in the 19th century, is known for elaborate tattoos. This is Maba. And now we're at the shaky hand, and I'm actually going to stop right here. We will pick this up. You kind of got an idea of how things go now, so if you want to go play on your own, which I do actually recommend, definitely go do it and, come back and look at the rest of this later. If, you don't have a PlayStation or whatever else this game is available on, and you're not going to play it, then definitely enjoy watching through the rest of the episodes. But we're going to end the first one right now. The next one will probably be a little bit longer. But just like always, if you're having fun, leave a like and a subscribe, tell your friends. We're definitely going to run through this. We haven't been posting as much lately as we have been, but this will come up, I think, at least an episode a day for the next couple of days. So hope you had fun, and we'll talk to you soon.